Hello fellow collectors and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Grimlock and Autobot Wheelie from the Transformers Studio Series 86. This guy is a leader class, so he is the only leader class in Wave 1. He's very large, and it's kind of funny when you think about it. We don't get a ton of leader class Studio Series figures. They mostly are either Deluxe or Voyager. We get one every so often, but don't usually get too many leader class. And like I said, this guy is huge. I'm super excited for this. He looks fantastic. He comes with a little non-transforming wheelie, which I could give or take, but you know, whatever. They want to throw him in, sure. I just hope we get a regular wheelie later on. Although we did get one back in Titan's Return, which wasn't too bad. So I don't know. I don't know if they'll do another one or not. I guess that's up to them. But here's some Grimlock artwork here on the side. You can see he is number 6. Since 86 is the number for all of them, and they have like a little sub number. And then over here you can see the 86, and we have some nice artwork here of Grimlock and Wheelie. Spin around to the back, of course, you have the robot mode, you have the T-Rex mode, and then Wheelie rides him in T-Rex mode, just like that scene in the movie when they are rescuing Cup and Hot Rod from the Quintessons. And he does come with a little diorama piece for the Quintesson Sharkticon pit, which is pretty cool. We'll take a look at that in a moment. But yeah, I'm pretty excited for this one. I'm really excited to get very G1 accurate Dinobots. The last time we had a Grimlock was Power of the Primes, and it was okay. They had to put in all that extra stuff to make him, you know, the core for the combining gestalt, and I don't know, I just didn't think it was that great. But I'm very excited for this one, so let's get him out of the box and let's take a closer look. So here's the little diorama scene that comes included with him. It's just the walls of the Sharkticon pit on Quintessa. Honestly, it's kind of one of the more boring scenes that we've gotten, and it's only because the other ones have been kind of so colorful and fun. This one's definitely appropriate. It's definitely one of the biggest scenes for Grimlock and the Dinobots, where they rescue Hot Rod and Cup and take on all the Sharkticons. It's a great scene. Just, you know, as a background, it's really just kind of a metal wall, so it's not the most exciting, but it's fitting, and I think it, you know, makes sense to be the one to include with him. And he barely fits in it. I mean, he is a big robot. He is very large. He barely fits in there, but he looks good. You can see he's got Wheelie perched on his shoulder. We'll get into that more as we review the figures, but yeah, he fills the space nicely and looks pretty good. So here he is in all of his glory. He is one impressive robot. They did a fantastic job with Grimlock. I'm very impressed with this. I love it. It's pretty perfect. Honestly, I wish he came with a sword. That's about it. That's about the only thing I could really complain about. But if you think about it, I don't think he ever actually used... Well, that's probably not true. I was going to say, I don't think he ever used the sword on the show. He probably did at some point. I know some of the other Dinobots like used to fire lasers from their swords. He definitely used his cannon more often, so I guess in their mind, if they could only afford including one accessory, they decided to go with the cannon instead of the sword because it was kind of more prominent in the movie and the show. Now, I'll be honest, they could have given me the sword and left Wheelie off. I would have been fine with that. We'll take a look at Wheelie real quick just to kind of get him out of the way. I don't have a problem with him. It's just, I didn't need him. You can see he's got this little peg here underneath his left thigh, and that's how he pegs into this little peg hole on top of the shoulder there. He uses these connections to peg in Dino mode, and we'll take a look at that later. He's okay. He's not amazing, but he's okay. I mean, the paint is actually pretty sharp, which I appreciate. The head sculpt looks pretty good. The Autobot symbol on the chest is nicely painted. And they did a good job of painting the legs, even on the inside, which I appreciate. He's got a ball joint at the base of the neck, so you can see that just moves around like that. He's got a ball joint here in the shoulder. But this one you can see kind of goes like this so that he can do the drawing back the slingshot. And then this arm's kind of more traditional ball joint so you can get like normal out to the side pose and whatnot. And then this, for whatever reason, actually can come out of his hand. I guess just so you can lose it. Because I don't really see any other reason. I guess he could hold other weapons or something, but I would have just molded it in there, but whatever. You do have a waist swivel. And then you have ball joints at the hips, and then the legs are formed like this. There's no knee joint. It's one solid piece. Like I said, nicely painted, but, you know, it's just kind of a weird, non-transforming, barely... I don't want to say barely articulated, because honestly it has more articulation than I expected. But, I don't know. He really just... He does the slingshot, and that's about it. He can't even really stand on his own. Well, to be fair, let's see. Can he actually stand up if I put him on the ground? Maybe if I distribute the weight correctly? No, he's always going to fall over. Well, I'd have to lean him really far forward. I guess you can kind of... I mean, look how menacing he is. He's ready to take on the Decepticons while he's staring at the ground like he threw out his back. So, yeah, I don't know. If they could have just given us just a simple 90-degree bend there so we could stand him straight up, I would have really liked this a lot more. I get it. He's just kind of a little accessory for Grimlock. He's not really a figure in his own right. I get it. But I feel like if you're going to include him and you're going to give him, most of the articulation, all we would have needed is a simple 90-degree bend in the knee just so he could stand up on his own. That's really all I would look for. But he is what he is. He's okay. He's not amazing. We're going to put him off to the side until we come back to Dino mode, and I'll show how he mounts. But in robot mode, he just pegs into one of these pegs here on the shoulders, and that's about it for that. So enough about Wheelie. We came here to see Grimlock, and this guy is impressive. I know I throw around the term mini masterpiece a lot, but I really feel like that's what Hasbro has been giving us recently. You don't have to go hunt down those masterpiece figures. I'm sad I spent all the money on the ones that I did, because these are beautiful, reasonably priced, fantastic toys. This is easily the best Grimlock we've ever gotten. Certainly better than... The most recent one was the Power of the Primes one. And again, if you need one to be a combiner, sure, that's the one you're going to want for that. And it serves a purpose, and that limits its possibilities as far as robot mode and transformation. I get that. Dino mode, all that stuff. Because it serves another purpose. He doesn't have to be encumbered by that. But he's just perfect. I mean, the paint applications look beautiful. The head sculpt is great. It's that just simple design, but it looks so good. There is an Autobot symbol under the chest plate there. It's a little hard to see, but it is there. That head sculpt's just perfect. Beautiful metallic blue paint there on the visor. Head is on a ball joint so it can rock back and forth, front to back. Obviously, it can swivel side to side. Looks fantastic. Nice shoulder ratchets. Listen to that ratchet. Beautiful shoulder ratchets there. Hinge, you have bicep swivel, 90 degrees. Now this is a little weird. You can see there's a clip, and it's because these are also the legs for Dino mode. So that clips in place so that later on you can use this pin to bend it the other way for the T-Rex mode. So that way this isn't constantly wiggling around when you're trying to use it in the other mode, and vice versa. So then that clips into place, and then you unclip that one to use the elbow. It's actually kind of smart. I'm just worried that they're going to eventually break over time. I really hope they won't. But I think it's smart. I think it makes sense. It's a way to make sure you can get both joints when you need them, and then they're not flopping around when you don't need them. So I appreciate that. These like toe pieces can kind of go in if you want a little bit, but obviously you're just kind of supposed to leave them out. You have a wrist swivel. You have a waist swivel. You have nice range of motion here in the hips, all the way to the front and the back. Kick out to the side. Thighs swivel. Nice ratchet in the knees. You can hear that. And then, of course, some really nice ankle tilt there. He's phenomenal. Like I said, I can't get over it. Oh, you should check out the wings as well. You have a hinge here, so you can get that kind of more show-accurate look. And you'll see there's some articulation here in the dino arms. We'll get to that later. But the T-Rex head just perfectly against the back, just like on the show, looks great. Doesn't get in the way of the waist articulation or anything. Back of the legs, nice, rounded, look good. You don't see any dino kibble really at all in the legs, which I really appreciate. And that gun, I think, works really well. It just pegs right into the hand very easily. It's pretty large, honestly. It's a pretty big gun. But it looks good. I think they did a nice job with it. And like I said, just pegs very simply into his hand right there. So overall, he looks amazing. I want to kind of bring in some of the other toys so we can see some size comparisons. So first and foremost, I want to bring in Earthrise Optimus Prime, just because I feel like these guys shared the most screen time throughout the first two seasons. And I think this is really perfect scale. I mean, when you watch the show, the Dinobots are larger than Prime. I mean, Prime is one of the tallest Autobots, and they always kind of show that they're a little bit taller than him. So I think this is a really nice scale. I think they look great together. I'm happy to finally have Dinobots in this scale, because I feel like Dinobots usually get relegated to, you know, deluxes, maybe a Voyager, depending on, you know, what's going on. Like with the Power of the Primes, he was a Voyager for being the center of the combiner. And so they're about the same size or smaller than Prime. I'm pretty sure they're going to keep going and give us all 5. Well, they might not all be leader class, because I think Slag has been slated to be a leader class, and I think Swoop's going to be a Voyager. But to be fair, Swoop and Snarl were built later, and they were smaller. Sometimes on the show, when we see them, I remember, I think it's one of the episodes, the first 3 walk by and they're taller, and then Snarl and Swoop are shorter. So if they end up being Voyagers, they'd be about this size, and I think that would work. As long as Grimlock, Slag, and Sludge are this size, I'll be really happy. So I hope that's what they end up doing. But this looks great. Absolutely love this. And then, of course, we're going to bring in Hot Rod and Cup, because, you know, obviously they're real big players in the movie, and they hang out with the Dinobots quite a bit. And then because he's handy and he's a G1 character, why not? We got Jazz to round out the group. So I think this is great. Honestly, I think the scale for these is all really, really great. I think, you know, Hot Rod's a little bit taller than Cup and Jazz, but he's kind of nicely in scale with Optimus, and then they're both in scale with Grimlock. You know what? He's here. We'll sneak Blur in the back. Why not? I think this is great. I think these really are nicely in scale with each other. I'm very, very happy with this. All right, let's get to the transformation. So it's honestly not much different than the original toy. I feel like Grimlock is one of those guys, very much like Optimus Prime, where certain aspects of his transformation are never going to change. You know, the legs become the tail, they flip up, the legs drop down, the wings close over, the T-Rex head flips up. It's the same basic stuff. I mean, like with Optimus, his shoulders are always going to go back and his arms are going to go to the side. It's classic. It's just how it is. Some things never change. So let's go ahead. We'll start with this guy. Make sure if you have any ankle tilt going on, straighten that out. You can come flip this part around like so. Do the same thing over here on this side. Then you're going to flip these back. This end of the tail will actually kind of accordion out and then go over like this. So we'll do that again over on this side. Make sure you clear the little tab right there. All right, at this point, we're going to lift up the T-Rex head just to get that out of the way a little bit. We can also come around and fold the hands in. They're just going to completely spin into the forearm, as you'd probably expect. So at this point, we're going to unhook the knees, and they just kind of come forward. And then you want to... should I have... No, that's right. You want to do it like this. So you can see this comes around, and this is going to kind of slide over. You can see how it's got kind of a beveled channel right there. This is going to come around, unhook this one, and I guess I could have done the order slightly differently just so these didn't get in the way, but it's not going to matter. It's probably easier to open them up and pull these pieces out after you get to this stage, but it doesn't matter. So then you're going to push these together like so. I don't have this lined up properly. There we go. Now you can see that they have these kind of ridge pieces right here on the back of his, I guess, hips. They're going to fit into these slots right here. So you're just going to bring this up, and these are going to fit there. And if you have to kind of use the joints here in the knee to bend it, you can do so right here. If it helps you to do them one at a time, you really can. It doesn't make much of a difference, honestly. There we go. Just make sure that when you're done, you have these pegged back in together. There we go. I didn't have that lined up correctly. I swear it's really not that difficult. I've done this several times before I started recording. It's just because I'm on video now. Nothing wants to line up for me. Now you're going to go ahead and bring these in. And you have to kind of do a little bit of wiggle room there, but they will close next to each other and then they'll all snap together like so. And you can see you pretty much have the whole tail right there. Now, very much like the original toy, you're going to unhook this gold chest section. It's going to fold down. You can see that there's kind of a little spot right there. That little tab that's sticking out right there is going to slide right on like so. And you can kind of see how there's an angle, and that kind of fits the angle of the foot there. There is going to be a little bit of space here. Don't try to get this to sit flat against that. Obviously, that's not going to happen. At this point, you can kind of just bring the legs down, put that elbow joint back in so that that clicks, and then you can bend it at the other pin that I showed you earlier. So unhook that and just kind of get this situated. You don't have to do it 100% just yet. At this point, you're going to fold the head down like so. This is going to come around, come down, peg into themselves like this. Then you can kind of pull out the T-Rex arms, situate them a little bit, and then this is just going to drop down like so, and then of course put the T-Rex head down. And there you go. There is your T-Rex mode for Grimlock. Now the ball joints here in the arm, and you have a hinge as well. The hands themselves don't move, but I feel like that's enough articulation for a T-Rex. As far as the legs, pretty much what you had in the robot mode. You have that same ratchet there, a little bit out to the side. You have that swivel. You just have this joint instead, but it's still 90 degrees pretty much. And he doesn't have any ankle tilt down here, obviously, because they were his hands not moments ago. But I think the tail looks good. I think the head looks fantastic. Again, you have nice metallic blue there for the eyes. Mouth does open. You can move this all around. Now it does have a little peg in there, so if you have an effect piece from something, I just happen to have this one laying around from Scourge the other day, you can peg that in there. So if you have like a flame effect or something from, say, Skylynx or something like that, he doesn't come with one, but you can peg that in there and make it look like he's breathing fire, which I think is pretty cool. But yeah, he looks great. I mean, it really feels like the masterpiece. It's really, really well done. It looks great. Really solid. I didn't show this off either, but obviously you can peg these onto the end of his blaster as well. Just in case I didn't show that off. This one doesn't happen to connect super well, but you can peg them on there. You can actually store this on his back as well. You can see that there are two tabs right here, and then there are two spots. I don't know how well this is going to show up because of shadow, but right there and there. So you would just take this and peg this on right here. And so that would just, little weapon storage there in Dino mode. Now as far as getting Wheelie on here, you can see that he's got these kind of bolts in his neck, almost like Frankenstein. And they're going to connect to the inside right here. So you have to really kind of like bend them strange and stretch them around, but that kind of clicks on there. And then this one comes around and clips on here. There we go. It's weird, but you know, it kind of works. It just barely kind of fits them on there. Honestly, I think Grimlock is pretty perfect. There's really nothing I would complain about. I mean, sure, I would love for him to come with his sword. Honestly, if it came down between getting the sword or the Wheelie, I would have picked the sword. Wheelie's all right. I mean, he is what he is. He's just a little accessory. If anything, if they could have just given us a 90-degree bend in his knees, just so he could stand upright when he's not connected to Grimlock, that would have made a world of difference to me. Because otherwise, you can't even really have him stand on his own. He kind of either has to be perched on Grimlock in either robot or dino mode. But again, you're not buying this toy for Wheelie, so whatever. Grimlock himself is perfect. The robot mode is fantastic. The dino mode is fantastic. The paint applications are great. The articulation is wonderful. the way they came up with to kind of have the elbow in robot mode, but then also the opposite bend for the T-Rex legs. They kind of snap into place in both modes, so that way you don't have wobbly joints hanging around. The wings on the back, the T-Rex head on the back in robot mode looks fantastic. Very cartoon and movie accurate. The scale's great. I'm so glad they decided to make him a leader as opposed to a Voyager. I think that was definitely the right call. Scales well with all the other figures like we saw. He's great. I really don't have anything to complain about. Like I said, I would trade Wheelie for a sword. That's about it. Otherwise, he's fantastic. I really hope they continue and they give us all 5 Dinobots in this line. I kind of think they will. I also kind of feel like that's why they did that one-time last-ditch effort of repainting the Volcanicus set on Takara Tomy Mall to kind of, we know no one's going to want these in a year once all the good Dinobots are out, so here's one last try selling this mold. Because let's face it, the Power of the Primes were okay. For most of the Dinobots, that was kind of the first time we had gotten updates in a while. We got Grimlock a lot through the years, but the other 4 Dinobots didn't really see much love, so it was nice to finally get at least deluxe toys for them, and they were okay. But this is really perfect. I'm super happy with this. Like I said, I'm hoping we get Slag and Sludge as leader class, and if they want to do Snarl and Swoop as Voyager class, I think that would make sense considering the scaling on the show. So hopefully that's what they do, and hopefully they just bring the same love to the other 4 that they showed Grimlock here, because this is a really great toy. I definitely recommend picking this up. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as always, thanks so much for watching.